it's interesting to see how those spaces are designed too, because there's some very positive examples and then there's some examples that are not great either, right? Because there are a few very prominent examples of some of the larger kind of co-working spaces where they had beer on tap all day long for the remote work or the co-working spaces. And you go, well, that's kind of something that was phased out in a lot of companies in the 80s and 90s because, everyone being drunk all the time at work causes other problems. But it's funny to see how how designing those spaces, even if it's not a particular company culture, if it's a very distributed culture, how those spaces and those environments are designed has a huge, profound impact on the people working there in those communities.
Yeah, we were in a great one. We did a meetup in Helsinki, and at the co-working space where we went to hold a meetup, they had this beautiful communal area, and they had invited local designer in. And so the local designer was in and displaying his clothes, his fashions.
Oh, wow.
And that was something that they had done to bring everybody out of their co-working spaces to talk about clothes to wear to work. So it was something that was in common, but it brought everybody together around something that wasn't just about their work. And so the intentionality that these spaces are realizing that needs to happen in order to meet those human needs and keep the humanness there, so that I'm not sitting in my office with headphones on, giving everybody the message, don't talk to me, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
But do something to draw people in. That's not come to happy hour and have all the free beer you want.
Yeah.
More and more people are saying we don't need that. We don't need encouragement to have alcohol to socialize. There's other things that we can socialize around. And so the opportunities are there for that to be so valuable and meet those human needs in order to be most effective working remotely.
Yeah. And you teach a lot of students. So do you see an increased demand for that? Like, do you think most of the students would like to go into that kind of office space, or are they looking for traditional office space, or is it a huge variety, or where do you think the demand's going?
It's actually really interesting. One of the courses, I taught small business management, and in that course, they had to do a research project on remote work. And so looking at different aspects of it. And then the final question was, given the opportunity, would you want to work remotely, or would you prefer a traditional work setting?
Mhm.
And I would say it was about a 50-50 split.
Okay.
So some people, and the reasons they gave was they really need people. They can't imagine just working from their home. So again, their initial looking into it. So as part of that course, I would bring them and teach one of the classes in a co-working space here in Kelowna. And they looked at that and they said, okay, we didn't realize this existed.
Mm-hmm.
So when we ask people if they would like to work remote or not work remote, we're asking a question without them having all the information.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think in education, we still need to prepare students because the majority of them are going to be working remote in some capacity. Mm-hmm. So no matter what it is we're talking about, so if I'm teaching an HR course and we're talking about performance management, part of the conversation is, how would you do that if you had a distributed team? Mm-hmm. Or how would you do this if half your team was working from somewhere else in the world and half of them actually were co-located? How would you do recruitment and selection? How would you provide upskilling to your workforce? So the more we bring that into conversations and help our students realize that whether you like it or not, this is work. This is the global context that you are going into. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that we're bringing that into the conversation, that we're talking about what are the skills that they need to have. And it's not always the hard skills. Mm-hmm. It's those soft skills. Like, how do you communicate? How do you empathize? How are you going to self-manage? If in the course that you're taking, you're not demonstrating conscientiousness and you're needing somebody all the time to be on your case about due dates, yep. And you're asking me can you please send me an email before class to remind me what it is that I need to have done?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah.
That's not the reality for work. So how do you put things into place in areas that you may be not as strong, so that you can be prepared for this kind of a context of working? And students now, even with education, all the classes going online, you've got the wide spectrum. Some students are absolutely loving it because they're enjoying that virtual environment and realizing that this is a way that they can still build relationships. Introverts, they're actually participating more because it's not as threatening. So I love this for the sake of the students because it's giving them a bit of an idea of what it would be like if they were working remote, to stay in contact with people, to get work done, and to be in charge of their own schedules to get it done.
Yeah, great.